Warm yellow frosted wall lamps lined the long backstage corridor in Aniat Row. The thick burgundy carpet swallowed most of the sound of footsteps. A faint woody fragrance lingered in the air. The camera slowly pushed forward. In the empty hallway, only the crisp tapping of footsteps echoed again and again. Victor, his long hair falling to his shoulders, walked slowly with a well-worn old guitar slung across his back, polished smooth with age. The cuffs of his faded shirt were rolled up to his forearms. His fingertips still bore the thin uses left by years of plucking strings. He had just finished an extra set downstairs at the bar. A lingering exhaustion clung to his brows and eyes. He was lowering his head to pull out his keycard, ready to go back to his room and catch his breath, when suddenly, a bright female voice with adiacing edge drifted over from behind him, lightly shattering the stillness of the corridor. Yo, big star? Really popular, huh? The moment Victor heard it, he stopped in his tracks. The fingers gripping his keycard suddenly stiffened. He spun around at once, and the instant he saw who it was, the weariness on his face was instantly swept away by shock. His brows furrowed instinctively. His eyes widened slightly, as if he could not believe what he was seeing. An old teammate, who had disappeared for years, was now standing at his door, without the slightest warning. Rebecca, what are you doing here? The camera slowly pulled back. Rebecca stood in the light and shadow with her hands on her hips. That familiar mischievous smile hung on her face. The lively spark in her eyes hadn't faded one bit. And behind her stood a mysterious man in a black hood, silent and still. His figure was straight as a pine. The aura around him was as heavy as ink that refused to dissolve. The shadow of the hood completely concealed his face. Standing in the corner by the wall, he looked like a shadow that could disappear at any moment. I came to support the big star, of course. What? Not happy to see me? Victor shook his head lightly. His gaze lingered on the hooded man for 2 seconds. A feeling rose in his heart in an instant. He knew Rebecca far too well. If there were no reason, she would never go out of her way to track him down at a hotel, and she definitely wouldn't bring a stranger with her. His tone unconscious lie turned more serious. Cut the jokes. You must be here for something, right? Hearing that, Rebecca narrowed her eyes with a smile. She stopped beating around the bush. Raising a hand, she pointed at the hooded man behind her and bluntly revealed the real reason they had come today. There is something, but it's not me. It's him. At that, the man in black slowly stepped forward. His boots made no sound at all on the carpet. He raised a hand and slowly pulled back his hood, revealing a familiar face that had been absent for 3 years. The contours were still the same as in Victor's memory, but there was now an extra trace of steadiness in his brow, carved there by time. He looked fixedly at Victor. Complex emotions were hidden in his gaze. Then he spoke softly, his tone exactly like it had been when he used to lead the team on missions, so familiar that it made the heart tremble. Yo, long time no see. The instant Victor saw that face clearly, his pupils contracted sharply. Even the knuckles clutching the keycard turned white. His whole body froze where he stood. The sealed away memories of the battlefield from 3 years ago surged back in an instant. He opened his mouth and blurted out the title he had called in his dreams countless times. His voice trembled in a way he could empathize. Captain. Victor quickly glanced at the waiter walking over from the far end of the corridor, then looked at the tightly shut guest room doors on both sides. He knew this place was full of eyes and ears. Walls had ears here. This was absolutely not the place to talk about the secret up he evolved from back then. So he spoke up and suggested moving somewhere safer to talk in detail. There are too many people around here. Come inside first. Snapping back to himself, Victor quickly stepped aside and pushed open the door. One after another they entered the room. The camera shifted to a cramp-ed standard hotel room. Half-drawn curtains blocked most of the daylight. The warm glow of the wall lamp by the bed fell across the old wood and floor. A suitcase with worn, frayed corners rested against the wall. Several yellowed performance posters were stuck to the wall. Every corner of the room carried the unmistakable signs of a struggling life. Victor picked up the chipped white porcelain teapot from the table and slowly poured hot tea into 2 cups. Wisps of steam rose gently, blurring his brows and eyes. Leon's gaze fell on the old guitar in the corner. The edges of the case were worn pale, and a faded sticker of their squad insignia was still attached to the neck. He spoke, his tone carrying a trace of sighing that he could unquite hide. "You've had that guitar for a lot of years, haven't you?" Victor set down the teapot, picked up an old cloth from the table, and wiped the watermarks off the rim of the cup. His tone was so flat it sounded like he was talking about someone else's life. Very little emotion could be heard in it. "Hey, life's been pretty tight for me. If it still works, I keep using it." Leon looked at the Victor before him, stripped of the glory he once had, and a wave of doubt rose in his heart. Back then, Victor had been one of the unstoppable core members of the Dragon slaying squad, and now he had fallen to making a living as a lounge singer. Holding a steaming cup of tea, Victor handed one to Leon. "Captain, I knew you wouldn't tea so easily in that place. You were always the pride of our academy, the very best." Hearing that, Leon waved a hand lightly, looking like he didn't care at all. "That's all in the past." Victor lowered his eyes and stared at the tea leaves floating up and down in his cup. His knuckles turned faintly white. The guilt he had suppressed for 3 years surged back up. He stayed silent for a long while, before finally speaking slowly. His voice was full of self-blame as he brought up the temple incident that had changed everyone's fate. "Back then, if I'd broke him free from the illusion faster, maybe I could have saved you, Captain." Leon turned and patted him on the shoulder, speaking to comfort him, telling him not to dwell on it. His tone was calm and gentle, without the slightest trace of resentment. "It's fine. Don't take it to heart. Aren't I doing just fine now?" Victor drew in a deep breath and rubbed his brow, adjusting his emotions. Then he changed the subject, and asked about the current situation of Martin, the only other remaining member of the squad. The 4-man team from back then had scattered to different places long ago. They had already lost contact. "What about Martin? Have you been in touch with him?" Victor closed his eyes and thought back for a moment to the scattered bits of news he had heard over the years. His fingertips lightly tapped the tabletop as he slowly described Martin's current situation. "That kid's been living at his father's estate the whole time. I haven't really kept in touch with him. I heard he's been busy lately preparing for his stepmother's birthday." When the captain heard that, a sudden chill rose in his eyes. His fingertip tapped against the tabletop, producing a dull knock. He raised his eyes to Victor and spoke of the plan he had been considering for a long time. The aura around him instantly grew heavy. "Hey, perfect. Then it's about time all 4 of our squad members got together again." Victor's expression darkened as well. He leaned forward slightly. Leon spoke the true purpose. of this reunion word by word. And the moment his words fell, the air in the room seemed to freeze. So heavy it was hard to breathe. After all, we need to find out who betrayed me back then. Don't we? That's right.